So let's take a look at this Milwaukee battery. You notice you push the button, it pretty much says it's dead. It's on the last LED and it blinks. But when you put it in the actual charger, it goes green and it says solid. And a solid green means full battery. Now when you use this actually in a tool, it seems to work just fine. Now, he did have some tape that I already pulled off and an X pattern on this just so he knew which battery it was, and I couldn't really get a straight answer as to if you know, as far as the battery life, how well it worked. But he did tell me that if you used it, you put it on the charger, it would just blink and blink and blink and didn't seem to charge. But when I used it, it charged just fine. And it's 4 in the morning, so I'm not going to put it in a tool and run it because the other people that live in the house, they wouldn't be too appreciative of that. But like I said, you put it in, it charges, or at least it says it's charged. So let's take it apart and find out what the problem is. So what do you think? Do you think it got dropped and maybe the board got cracked? Maybe bad connection on the front board here? Maybe a bad cell? Let's find out. Alright, so that's easy to take apart. Let's take a look at the board under my makeshift microscope. And tell me if you see anything that doesn't look good. I'll just do a visual inspection. And that's the light. So it's not a separate board, it's actually all one piece. Right, if you're saying this over here, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Where is it? Right there. I don't know if that's just dirt. Let's see if we can clean that off. I just wanted to interject real quick. This is not a good idea. I should not have been doing this. The batteries were charged, therefore the board was still active because the batteries are still connected to the board. And here I am, you know, probing around with some conductive tweezers and, you know, picking at the board and scraping it and trying to get some stuff off. I could have damaged the board, shorted something out, burnt out one of the ICs on there. Not a good idea, so don't do that. Or if that got a little too hot. Now this is coated because, you know, it's a tool that you would use outdoors. And they want to keep any kind of moisture and really anything off the board. So that actually looks a little bit better. I'm wondering if that was, it just heated up and it cooked the coating. Or if it was just wasn't very uniform. That cap didn't look too good either here, but now that I'm cleaning the coating off, it looks just fine. So it's something to look at. We'll come back to that. Let's look over here. And I'm trying to look here. That looks like it's okay. I wouldn't mind touching that up a little bit, but I gotta scrape all the coating off to do anything. I'm taking the screw out. I'd like to lift this whole battery pack out, but I might not even have to, just to test it, but let's see. Yeah, here it comes. Oh, I'm glad I did. Everything's doubled up. So it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to test because you got cells in parallel. But we can at least see what the final output voltage is going to be. And that's what that meter should be measuring. So even though they're in banks, they're parallel, let's just see the total amount, you know, voltage that we're going to get. across each. So we got 3.8, 3.8, 3.8, 3.8, and 3.1. Ooh. That could be the killer right there. I bet you that's it. All right, hopefully that's a little bit better. I know these lights don't work too well with the surface of the screen. I have that other meter that lights up that I usually have a camera on, but that camera's doing something else right now. I'm actually recording something off of a Laserdisc with it. Alright, so it's this side here that's bad. 3.1. Let's see what we get out of here. 18.66. So if all these here were set up, if all these banks were actually set up at 3.8, we get 19 volts. Right now we're getting 18.6 because that one, these two here are sagging a bit. If these were charged to 4 volts, we'd get 20, 20 times 5. So my question is, I don't know what the specs of this board is and what it likes to do. However, if this went down to 3 volts, I mean, a lithium-ion battery can be discharged down to around 3 volts safely. Some things even take it down to 2 or 2.5. That's a little bit too far for comfort, but you could get away with 3 easily. Now, I don't know how far down that this lets it go before it starts saying that it's low. But let's try something. So let's just try this. I'm going to set this side just on these cells here. This is coming off the power supply, and these probes need to be replaced, or these clips need to be replaced. Let's go in here. We can probably sneak one in there, and yeah, these two are connected, so we can just sneak that in there. So it's charging them now. Let's bring this up a bit. And it's charging both of those cells at about 3.5 amps. So you're dividing that in half, per cell. The problem is there's no resistors there, so all the current's going through one cell and not the other, or it could potentially go going through one cell and not the other. They don't share equally. But in a perfect world, it's being divided up to whoever needs it. So we're going to kind of balance these out a little bit and see if we can bring this up as close as possible to 3.8. And this isn't changing. This should at least... Oh wait, what was that? So you notice that stayed on solid there for a second. At least I thought it did. Maybe I'm delusional. Let's let this go up so at least we have known good. Alright, so I've been letting it just kind of sit here charging, and I noticed when I turn the power supply off, voltage drops and it just continues to drop. It doesn't seem to want to hold. So one of those cells, if not both of them, are bad. When you turn the power supply off, it's going to drop, obviously, but it doesn't seem to want to hold a charge at all. So these cells, at least this last bank here is bad. But I did notice, look at that, it's working. So it reached the threshold where it could actually, it's not saying that it's dead. So really, the whole point is, or the whole purpose, the whole reason for this is an unbalanced cell or an unbalanced bank of cells. So I'm going to replace those. What I have here, and I went through my collection, and I have a bunch of cells that are just kind of sitting in a container. But I want to get ones that match, and these don't. I thought maybe these did match. They're different colors. So I got to look at a good way to check with these is to go by the wrapping color. But I got to go check the milliamp hour rating on all these, because if I'm going to do this, I'm going to want to have, obviously in a perfect world, you replace them all with brand new cells. This is a used pack. What I don't want to do is put, a couple cells in here with very low milliamp hour rating or very high, because then they're either going to get overcharged or potentially get overcharged, or they're going to be undercharged all the time. They're not going to fully charge up. So what I got to do is find some cells that are similar to what's in here. And I got to pull these two cells out the back and see if these are any good. And it might be one, it might be both. I don't know until I get it apart. And then we'll put a couple more cells in there and spot weld them in place. So I'm going to bring this thing up to about, I'm going to bring this whole thing up to about 3.8. And then I'm going to try it. Let's try it right now. It's close enough. I wonder if it'll actually go on the charger, because this has plenty left to charge. I don't want to. Yeah, it's saying it's full. I think it has more. It could go in for more time, but whatever. It says 3/4 full, because I believe that this thing actually charges them up to about 4 volts for each cell. So I'm going to bring the cells up to that, and I'll continue this video later on. Let's see, what is it at now? 3.6. Ooh. So maybe it is starting to hold a charge. Yeah. Spoke too soon. Yeah, see, there it's dropping. So one of these cells is shorted, it looks like. Well, and that's the problem. So I'm not even going to go any further as far as charging them up. I'm going to let it just discharge overnight, and I'll find some more cells, and we'll continue the video when I get there.